Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Professor Hamamoto. It is February 23rd, year 2025. It's 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Welcome, one and all, here in the live stream. I'm in an especially good mood today because I have a very, very special guest. His name is Mr. Orlando Spado, or pronounced
That,
Spado in some cases.
no, you pronounced it correct.
Okay, I give it the Italian pronunciation, Spado.
Yeah.
And he's better known as Ori, O-R-I. Here is his book, The Accidental Gangster. While we're talking, be sure to go to Amazon and order the book. And then also leave a review. That's important because it'll drive it up to the top of the list. He's already sold a lot of copies because it's an incredibly good book. I will give it 5 stars right off the bat. So, with no further ado, let's bring Mr. Spado on to the stage. Hello, greetings.
Well, good afternoon. I'm going to call you Professor, even though you said Daryl,
Hmm.
because that's the respectful thing to do. And I live by respect. So, you
That comes,
deserve, you deserve that there.
well, thank you. And I'll refer to you as Mr. Spado.
No,
You
no, call
can
me Ori.
call you Ori, okay, if you
Yeah.
insist. But, respect is one of the underlying themes of your book, your autobiography. It comes out of every page. Now, what does that mean to you as an individual? Sort of a came of age in the post-war period. You went into the military to now. I mean, do we still have a respect culture in America?
Unfortunately, we do not. I have tried to, and I do it. I talk about respect in a lot of my shows that I
Mhm.
do, and it's not something that we have in this culture. And I don't blame the children. I blame their parents because it's not something that you can go to school and take a course on how to be respectful. Okay, you got to
Mhm.
learn that at a very young age. Okay, with your within the family. I always learned to respect the elders, always be uh, respectful to the police and to anybody in authority. And you know, that's how I live my life: respect, honor, and loyalty. And if people live there, that's how I live. I'm 80 years old. I was involved with a lot of tough guys, a lot of killers, and during my lifetime, I'm here because I was always respectful, honorable, and loyal. And I knew when to talk and when not to talk. Okay, because listening is something else that people don't do today. And you can learn so much when you listen. And I always tell people God gave you 2 ears and one mouth. He wants you to do twice as much listening. So if people were to do that, their lives would become a lot better. And I'm here to talk about it. I didn't end up in the bottom of a river or in the trunk of a car. I
Mhm.
did end up in prison. Yes, I did.
Well, it seems to me you were an active listener. As people were speaking and you were absorbing information and input, and you're also always vigilant, looking behind your back, literally, just monitoring, surveilling your environment wherever you were. You were taking it all in. How did that help you professionally in your businesses?
It helps me extremely in my business. In addition, I'm a great salesperson. And you read in my book, I began my career with a Prudential Insurance Company. I became a member of the $1 Million Roundtable, making a lot of money. And then I started my own business, the Ori Agency. and I was the pioneer of the automobile after sale business as it is today. And I was doing several millions of dollars a year back in the early 70s, right up to 79. And if it was not for one guy that was greedy, a guy that the most he ever made in his life was 36,000, and that was a lot of money back then.
Mm.
But with me, he was making 100,000. I bought him a new, leased him a new Lincoln every year. I brought him to Las Vegas. I taught him the ropes in Vegas. I got him comped at different casinos. Uh, I mean, I did so much for this guy. And he's a guy that became an informant and tried to take my business over. And if he did not do that, he would be a multi millionaire today, and I would have been a billionaire.
Wow.
Be-
Well, this seems to be a problem amongst people in your position, high achievers. That's why Donald Trump always has to be wary about who he keeps around himself, because what happens is that there's people who want to be you. They want to take your place. In this case, he wanted to steal your business.
Yeah.
So, how do you avoid that? Is there any way to prevent such
Well,
an occurrence?
after three indictments in my lifetime, okay, I'm very leery who I talk to, who I do business with, what I say, and especially who I trust. Uh, Trusting people you know, uh, is a big thing when you put your trust into somebody. And, unfortunately, it's the people that you help out the most and do the most for are the ones that are like, they want to take your position.
Mhm.
All right? Instead of sitting back, have patience, okay? Uh, but that's just the way the world is. And, I can hold my head up high. I know who I am.
Mhm.
And I've done a lot of great things for a lot of people. And I help people out on a continuous basis. These are, yesterday you asked me a question, what's my greatest joys? And, sometimes we do things for people not knowing exactly where we'll lead. But for some people who just do their thing, stay to their business, it's like with Roger Stephens with the World of Reggae featuring Bob Marley.
Mhm.
Okay. And, I happen to have one of his books. Roger Stephens wrote 8 books,
Yes.
and how I met him through my friend Danny Sims. And Roger followed Bob Marley all over the world. And he's collected artifacts that you can't believe. And I ended up doing the exhibit at the Queen Mary. Cost us a lot of money. We put it on. We did it. We made money. It was great. And I remember one time Roger wrote something about Ori Spado made his dream come true. And I like that kind of stuff. But now we're doing something else. We got in the works. We're not sure exactly where it's leading right now. We're putting it together, having creative sessions. But he wrote me, and if you don't mind, I'll read it.
Please.
Okay. He just gave me this here last week. To my friend Ori, who produced the world's first reggae and Bob Marley exhibition at the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California in 2001. This has led at last to the building of a museum in Montego Bay, Jamaica, to house my entire collection. Thanks to your foresight and support. To be sure, Bob Marley is smiling down on you, Ori. With all my eternal love, thanks, and one love, Roger Stubbins. When I got home and I read this here, I just said, geez, it just, how it started, and this is what I mean. You don't know how much you could really help somebody. But because of that exhibit that I produced, along with my son, Anthony, and Gene Giaquinto, who is a senior vice president of Universal Pictures, we had a company called Global Treasures, and we produced that there.
Mm-hmm.
And look at where it's led, you know? And you're talking about somebody, I didn't even know who Bob Marley was, okay? But
Yeah.
that's how things go. And, as you go, and I try to tell people, do something nice for somebody every day. Try to be kind. I take a walk. I walk a couple miles a day. I say, good morning, everybody I see. And some of them look up there. I mean, they all got their phone. They look up, they're startled. They smile and they go, oh, good morning. And I walk into the grocery store. Hello, Anna, how are you today? How's the family? The cashiers. Nobody ever talks to them. They smile. Hi, Mrs. Spado, how are you? Great to see you. But when you go in, you call them by their names. You just make people happy. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do those, if we got the world doing that there together, and I say in my book, together, we all can make this world a better place. But it's going to take everybody, and that's how I try to live my life.
Now, I was going to get to this topic before we ended the conversation, but now that you presented us your philosophy of life, what are your perceptions about what's going on with the Trump 2 administration? I saw one of your pieces, and why don't you describe what you're feeling at age 80 about the prospects for America?
Well, I think the prospects for America are the best that has ever been in my lifetime. We have a man, I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like him initially, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm a New Yorker, he's a New Yorker. But I listened to this guy. I listened to him. People don't listen. Listen. And this guy genuinely cares for this country. He doesn't need to be president. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need to rob anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that he's doing. Other people, Obama talked about it. Biden talked about it. Okay. No, the last person who ever do anything that got the budget straight now was Bill Clinton. Okay, but he didn't even do as much as what President Donald J. Trump is doing. And everything he's doing, cutting out all this. I've been saying it for a long time. If you notice in the back of my book, I wrote letters. And I wrote letters to the U.S. House of Representatives. Ask them to start doing things for the people. I don't know if any of them ever got it or not. But if they did, I guarantee you they pay no attention to it because they don't want to do things for the people. Because look at all the money that they're making. Obama went into office. When he went into office, 1.3 million was his net worth. When he left office, this is before his speaking engagement, before his book, before anything else. He was worth over $70 million. How does that happen? Okay,
It sounds
but
like a RICO job.
that's a RICO. Who, by the way, people
Yes.
don't realize. I'm not here to put down Joe Biden. I never liked them. But what most people don't know, and you just mentioned, the RICO Act, which was written by Professor Blakely, I think he was at Notre Dame at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but guess who else helped him write it?
Was it
Joe
Biden?
Biden. Joe Biden.
Oh, ironic.
Then, then guess who wrote the worst crime bill in history? Joe Biden, 1991. Minimum mandatory sentences. You got to do 85% of your time. I mean, I go on and on. And people don't understand. These are illegal and unconstitutional laws. I ended up on my deal, I pled to 97 months minimum, 97 to 110 months. Because I knew, then I say in my book, a captain from the Genovese family said, Ori, take that deal. You go to trial, they'll shut your lights. So I
Mhm.
took the deal. And when I went for sentencing, my judge sentences me to 60 days on a robbery charge. I thought I heard her wrong. I leaned over to my attorney, George. And then he goes like this. He says, Mr. Spado, on the 924C gun charge, my hands are tied by Congress. I have to give you the 60 months on that. Your sentence is 62 months. Now, look, it's a lot better than 97, granted. But when he did that, I knew that if the power was within that judge, he would have released me for time served.
Mhm.
Now, I did my 62 months time in prison. When I got out, 2 years after I'm out, one of my co-defendants was still in prison. And he tells me, he says, you got to write the judge. He says, because he was a co-defendant of mine. He said in 924C, the U.S. Supreme Court found it illegal and unconstitutional.
Hmm.
I said, what? And then I looked it up. Sure as shit. They found it illegal and unconstitutional.
Hmm.
So the people who were in prison for that there were being released. Other people were getting taken off the record. Only
Hmm.
one person whose record it did not come off with. You're speaking to him, me.
Right.
When I wrote to the letter to the judge that I read about it and saw it on the news. I like it off my record. I didn't hear nothing for like a month. And then one day, I live in an apartment building, and I get my mail downstairs and FedEx. There's a FedEx waiting for me. And I open it up. It's from the U.S. Attorney, Elizabeth Geddes. Same U.S. Attorney that was against me. And the first page says, yes, Mr. Spado's 924C charge should be dismissed. I'm happy as hell. I take the elevator, I come up, it was 5 pages. I read it. I get to the fourth page. It says, in the event that Mr. Spado's 924C charge is dismissed, we hereby bring back charges 1 and 30 of the indictment. I go, what? Those were the charges that were dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote the judge another letter. I said, hey, I sent you that letter without the advice of an attorney. He appoints a lawyer in New York. I get a call from a lawyer in New York. Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of this. You got a court date in February 4th. I said, I'm not coming back to New York. First of all, I'm not coming back in the winter. Secondly, I'm not walking back in that courtroom because I know the procedures. I'll walk in, they're going to arrest me, and then bring me downstairs. I said, and I got to fight my case from in prison again. I said, I'm not doing that. Oh, don't worry. No, I said, leave it alone. I said, I'll keep it. My life, it's not going to change my life anyway, you
Mhm.
know? And I said, and do not call the U.S. attorney. Guess what he does? He calls the U.S. attorney. He says, look, he calls me back. Yeah, I just spoke to a U.S. attorney. He says, we can make a good deal. He said, you got plea to a new thing. I said, I ain't pleading to nothing. Keep it the way it is. I don't need you. Goodbye. That was it. So I still got that 924 seat.
Now, Mr. Spado, let's say Attorney General Pam Bondi, if she reached out and contacted you, what would your recommendation be so far as the RICO Act and these modifications, perversion of justice that you had endured?
My advice to her would be to put the sentencing back into the hands of the judges. Okay?
Mhm.
Why are we appointing these judges to lifetime appointments and then you got to tie their hands? See, it's that judge who knows the entire case. It's the judge who learns who I am and who the other people are in this court. He learns about us through the writing, through the motion. You know, motions is the only way you could talk to a judge. I was writing my own motions because I knew I wanted this judge to get to know me. Here I was on a Colombo crime family indictment, extradited from my home here in Beverly Hills to New York, to Brooklyn, MDC, where Diddy is right now. Okay,
Mhm.
so I know it very well. I spent 30 months there. Okay, that 30 months in MDC is like doing 10 years. Okay, it's a horrible place. It was horrible, filthy, dilapidated when I was there. And now I heard it's 100 times worse. I can't even imagine it being worse than it was,
Hmm.
but it is. And, you know, part of the bill that Biden did was he literally bribed all the states that if the states increased their sentencing guideline that everybody had to do 85%, there was billions of dollars for them.
I see.
All right. And
Yeah.
what developed and what really grew from there was private prisons. And if you look at the chart, when after Joe Biden got that bill passed, and Bill Clinton signed it. And many years later, you know what Bill Clinton said? He said, I didn't know about that minimum mandatory. I didn't read that in the bill. I didn't know it was there. He literally said that.
Hmm.
Okay? Because there's a big organization trying to fight that. And but here he is. You got the guy who robbed more money than anybody I've ever known in history. And it's not just him; it's the entire U.S. House of Representatives. And this is why you see Shoemaker, Pelosi, Jeffries, and these kind of people. They're all crying the blues.
Hmm.
They agree. They know it's got to be cleaned up. But
Yeah.
look at their money, water faucet, has just gotten shut down. And that's what they're pissed off about. I mean, look, you people don't understand. You're a professor, okay? But people don't understand what a millionaire is, let alone a billion. They don't understand what $1 billion is. How are they ever going to understand a trillion? They don't. It's just a word to them.
Hmm.
All right? But a billion, you got 1,000,000,000 and 1 billion. So
Hmm.
they got 2 billion they send over here to some no non-existent company, and the money disappears. You know how many million goes to other people? And this is where And it's probably in all offshore account someplace. And I hope Pam Bondi, and I hope she finds where the money is.
Mhm.
Okay, how it got funneled, because they got to follow the money, and will they ever let us know who really did it? Who got it? Will they do that?
Mhm.
Because no matter what you say, all right, when you get in that building there in Washington, they're still, they're all members of it, you know?
Right. Now you're in Beverly Hills. Does that is that the district that Adam Schiff represents too?
Yeah,
So if Schiff is your rep in Congress,
yeah,
Adam Schiff. And
yeah. Adam, I never, another guy just never liked him.
now
Okay,
wasn't his
he's crying the blues like crazy. Okay, why would Joe Biden pardon him, pardon his family if they did nothing wrong? They don't need
Mhm.
a pardon. Why did he do that? Because he knows they did something wrong. Okay,
uh,
now how do you wire money? I'll tell you something. How do you launder money? There's big money, little money. I was dealing marijuana. I was sending 500 pounds every 2 weeks to New York from Arizona. Now I'm in New York City. I got a lot of cash, okay? But I had a lot of people out here that I had their bank information, and I'm depositing 1,000 here, 900 here, 900 there, okay? Going bank to bank. That's what I was doing, putting it up. So I didn't carry that much cash around.
the mute. Oops. We'll get you back in a moment.
So I would not have to carry
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. If somebody was calling, I
Oh, I
declined the
see.
call.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned money laundering. This is a good time to talk about the film business, the movie industry, of which you are very well acquainted with. In
Yes.
fact, you met Dino De Laurentiis, did you not?
Dino De Laurentiis was a great guy. He was about this tall. Yeah, knew
Tell,
him.
tell us everything you know about Dino De Laurentiis.
Sorry.
That might be Pam Bondi.
No, it's not. It's my friend Francesca in
Okay.
Boca Raton, Florida.
You might be watching the show.
Okay, your question was,
Dino De Laurentiis.
yeah, Dino. I met Dino in 1971.
Hmm.
All right. Actually, we did him a favor a little bit before that in New York when he was filming across. We did through who was like a partner, another producer. They were like close, Ralph Serpi.
Hmm.
And they, I was in their office over here and they were having a problem on a particular movie uh, that was going over budget because the actor got a little cocky trying to tell the director what to do and making the film go over budget and delaying everything. I
Hmm.
said, I'll take care of it for you. Oh, they got nervous. Don't worry. I said, I'll take care of it. And I said, where are they? And I went over to the set and I got a hold of the guy. I said, come here, we got to have a talk. And I do it nice. I put my arm around his shoulder. I said, you're a great actor. I said, but however, you're not the director on this movie. You're the actor. You're being paid to act. Okay? If you were the director, it'd be a different story.
Hmm.
Now look, we don't need to have a problem here. You're being paid good money to play this part. It was a lead part. And it was actually he was playing a gangster. Yeah, it was a movie about a gangster. All right, so you could look up Dino De Laurentiis. see what gangster movie did, you know what actor. I'm not going to mention his name.
All right.
Okay?
Hmm.
He was a tough guy in a lot of movies. And I told him, I said, you're portraying a gangster. I said, I am a gangster. I said, no, there's a big difference there. And, we turned out to be friends. He did exactly what I did, asked him to do, you know. And the movie got made, and it was a good movie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
and then word went around Hollywood of, it's not like it was in a newspaper, but word gets around. Hollywood's a very small town. People don't understand that.
Hmm.
And before you know it, agents, lawyers, studios were calling me. So I became the original Ray Donovan. And,
Uh-huh.
people ask me, how did you do those things? Well, look, I was successful in the insurance business of selling. Okay? I'm a good negotiator. And how did I do it all? By listening. Listening, and I say very few words. But, everybody's got to win something in a negotiation. Both parties has got
Hmm.
to win something. Right now, Trump is negotiating with Zelensky. Okay? And Trump is right. We're the only country that gives away all this money and don't get it back. When all of Europe, all the countries in Europe, they put up a lot of money too, but they all get it back. The United States don't. So Trump wants a deal where we get it back. So he's
Hmm.
making a deal under mineral and other things that's of value in their country, which is right. So I love what Trump is doing. And I think, if the people have the patience, stick in there, all right, the economy will become much better than you ever could imagine. But, you got to remember that he's got to clean up everything that Joe Biden did. And Joe Biden did everything to make it as tough as he can for Donald Trump.
Hmm.
Even right down, okay? Right down to pardoning people on death row. They're not getting out of prison. He didn't do them any favors. They're still in prison. They're not getting out because they're no longer on death row. Okay, but they're still in prison. Did any? I
Hmm.
don't know about any of them being released. Do you?
Well, the J6 people were released pretty quickly.
The J6 were, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
look, you had thousands of people there for such minor crimes. They should have never gone to prison. All
Hmm.
right, and
Hmm.
first offenses going to prison. First offense, you normally don't get imprisonment. You'll get some supervised release, all right, or something. But no, I don't see anything wrong with them, and I got no problem with that.
Hmm.
I
Now,
know.
now, I wanted to ask you. I mean, a figure who I never even heard about before. I was learning a lot of new names in your book. Um, his name is Jimmy Kachi. That's one of his street names. I didn't want
That
to
was
ask you
his
about. Yeah, I mean,
Jimmy.
you talked
That's his
about him in
real name.
other. Huh? That's the real name.
Yeah.
But you've spoken about him in other interviews, and you've written extensively about him in your book. But one of his contemporaries, he was an LA person. I wonder if you ever encountered him. His name was Brook Lear.
Yeah. I didn't
Uh,
meet Dominic Brooklier. I knew his son, Anthony
he was the
Brooklier.
attorney. Anthony was the
Anthony
attorney.
was a lawyer, was my lawyer out here.
He was
Yeah.
your lawyer too?
Yeah.
Well, do you know what happened to Anthony Brook Lear?
Yes.
Yes. And
One year, actually, me and my son, they had a service for his son down in San Bernardino. His son, he committed suicide.
right.
And it was at a big place. I remember, and all the top lawyers in Los Angeles were there. I remember walking in; they all knew me. Uh, I'm going to tell you, Anthony Rivera was one of the greatest guys that I ever knew. I got to tell you something. Uh,
Really?
yeah, he was an awesome, amazing, great lawyer. You know, he represented Heidi Fleiss and a lot of big names. Uh, but 1 year to the date of his son, he hung himself, committed suicide.
No.
I couldn't believe it. I was trying to call him and I didn't call the lawyer. And, Tom Mazerow, who you know, Dana Cole, Weissman, all of them.
Shapiro? Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you know Shapiro too of the
yeah, I
OJ
met
fame?
Shapiro before. Yes,
And how
yes,
about
sir.
Robert Kardashian?
Robert, no, no, I never met him. I met Elvis. I mean, not Elvis. I met OJ. Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, Anthony Brooklier was 1 year older than me at my high school, Savannah High School.
Oh yeah.
He
So
was a
you went
football
to
star.
school? You
Yeah,
went
I
to
went to
school
school
with
with
him?
him. I went to school with him in
No kidding.
Anaheim, California. Yeah.
Yeah. Gee,
And
when
I
did his
didn't
father die? Long time ago.
quite a while ago, and he was an all-American boy. And when I read about Dominic Brooklier, and Anthony had already become a prominent criminal defense lawyer by that time, I was astounded because he was just such a upstanding, guy. Anthony, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of fascinating how these lives move in
You
different
never,
directions.
you never know who you're crossing lives with and what could develop from it. And,
Mhm.
but you got to keep yourself open, okay? And this is what you got to do.
Now, what's your assessment of Heidi Fleiss, the so-called Hollywood Madam? Because she was represented by Anthony Brooklier too.
Yeah.
Because she's made a huge rehabilitation, I guess. Heidi Fleiss.
Yeah, what is she doing? I really don't know what she's doing now. I
Well,
knew her
she.
back in the day. I'll tell you a story.
Oh, please.
I'm sure I wrote about it in my book, but I took care of Bob Crow from the Trammell Crow Company out of
Oh,
Dallas,
yeah.
Texas. And Bob was glued to the pipe. He smoked cocaine.
Oh,
And he had Natalie Wood's old house up on Benedict Canyon. And the guy who was in charge, he introduced me to him, and Bob was pissed off about some guy who was, and Bob, if you, I just told this story to a friend of mine yesterday. He had three
mhm.
girls, three main ones, Heather, Lahore, and Lisa. And they all drove green, they were all blondes, drove green Range, that's dark green, like an olive, like an army color Range Rover. And they all had store-bought tits. If you saw them, you knew, and they had a home to go along with it. And Bob Crow bought it
Wow.
all right? And they took um, Elizabeth Adams, who was the Beverly Hills madam. Her real name was Elizabeth Adams. And he owed her a lot of money. He owed Heidi Fleiss. And so I was at Heidi Fleiss's house. I met her and met a lot of the girls. And Elizabeth Adams, the Beverly Hills madam. They
Mhm.
say there was a lot of tension between her and Heidi because Heidi learned from Elizabeth.
Was
But
that
there was
Madam
no,
Alex? Madam
huh?
Alex?
Madam
That,
Alex, yeah.
oh, okay.
There was really no tension, okay,
Okay.
like the press said.
Hmm.
And, but anyhow, I remember one night I just got home. My girlfriend was an addict and a drunk, and she was drunk again. And I finally get to sleep. My phone rings, and it's Elizabeth Adams, the Madam Alex. She's already, I need to talk to you. You've got to help Heidi out. She had a boyfriend. It was an old boyfriend. She wasn't going to. He did one TV show. I don't even
Is
know
that
if I should
Ivan
say.
Naj?
You got it. I'm
Uh-huh.
glad you said it. Ivan Naji.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So now she plugs in Heidi. So now there I am. I'm laying in bed. I got the Beverly Hills Madam and Heidi Floyd and talked to the two of them. And so Heidi told me, I said, go away, I'll take care of it. I said, no, Heidi, I said, I want you to plug him in. So Heidi was able to plug him in. So now I got them all and I'm laying in bed. I said, Ivan, this is Ori Spado. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, Ivan. I said, Heidi wants nothing to do with you. Stay the fuck away from her and everything will be cool. And he says something like, you guinea back, but freaking, my neck just popped right out. I got up, I stood. I said, you, oh boy. I said, Ivan, I said, I'll climb that fucking wall where you're at. I said, you're screwing with the wrong guy in town. I said, but he used to love nightclubs. I said, but better yet, you know what I'm going to do, Ivan? I'm going to buy you from every nightclub in Hollywood. And that's
Wow.
just what I did.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, later on, she hooked, or maybe that was before Naj, but she was the boyfriend of the international financier Bernie Kornfeld.
She was?
Yeah. Did you have any connection to Bernie Kornfeld?
No.
That's when she
No.
first came to prominence.
Bernie Cornfeld.
Right. He's a super international. I think he might have been linked to Mossy. There might have been some sextortion involved in the early prostitution part.
I'm sure that there was.
A P.
But
Diddy situation.
you
Yeah.
know who else Madam Alex introduced me to? Was Khashoggi.
Adnan Khashoggi?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was broke when she did. And he was in New York and he was trying to pawn jewelry.
No.
Yeah.
How could Adnan Khashoggi ever be broke?
Yeah, he was. He went broke at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened? Did he spend it on money or? I mean, this guy was a real hustler at a high
Yeah, he
level.
was.
What
I don't
happened?
know what happened. I mean, I'm not making his story up, okay?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I had to meet somebody. I had to meet a friend of mine at the Waldorf. I was in California, so I called somebody back east to meet with him about the jewelry.
Mhm. Now, you mentioned nightclubs. What were you doing when Roy Radin hit town? He was looking to put together the package of the Cotton Club film.
Who,
Um,
Ronald Reagan?
Roy Radin, Radin. He came out of New York, and he ran shows in vaudeville, and he wanted to come to L.A. to make a film. And he got into a beef with, I guess it was the girlfriend of Robert Evans, and he wound up dead, I believe. It's called the Cotton Club Murders.
You
This
know,
is
I
back.
read something about that, and something I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But man, who would have Robert Evans' girlfriend been at that time? He had so many.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I have her name. I won't mention it. By the way,
yeah.
speaking of Robert Evans, did you ever encounter him, Bob Evans?
And let's put it this way: he was a good customer of Heidi Fleiss.
Okay. a guy like him didn't have to pay for it.
He didn't, but I'm going to tell you something. Hollywood's a very weird town. And that's all. I'm not going to say what he did because, I wanted people to live with him for the creative successes that he did. But, men are men. They do crazy things. You know,
Right.
and women do crazy things too.
Well, he
But
did produce The Godfather,
he produced The Godfather.
a
Can't take that
classic.
away from him. And to
Yeah,
this day, there's so many. I got millions of girls that they all were with him. All beautiful women who were with him. I mean, they all have a special place in their heart for Robert Evans.
that's good to hear. I saw his documentary and I read the book, The Kid Stays in the Picture. Recommended reading and viewing for everybody that's watching.
Yeah.
That's the great Bob Evans. Now, I'm interested also in a woman who sticks out singularly alone because she's operating with all these mensch, high flying guys like Robert. That's Sherry Lansing. How
Yeah.
do you explain the Sherry Lansing phenomenon? She was the sole woman who was like super gangster. Any stories on her?
Nothing but good stories.
Okay, well
Nothing but good stories.
let's hear the good ones.
She's still active. Actually,
Okay.
I'm very close friends with Nick Pileggi. He's a very dear friend of mine.
Right.
And you wouldn't believe it. Nick, he's got a home here in Beverly Hills, a home in New York City, and a home in the Hamptons. He wrote Goodfellas, Casino, and he's got a movie coming out with De Niro March 21st called Alto Nights, where De
Wow.
Niro plays both Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. And
Wow.
but Nick and I, we talk maybe twice a week, and but I invited him to George Gell had a screening just past Thursday. George Gell had a movie. It's just came out. It's funny in how you gotta watch it. It's called Comeback Trail with Bobby De Niro, Tommy Lee, Morgan Freeman, Zach Braff, and a slew of others. It's so funny. Okay. All right. De Niro really is hilarious in this movie. And I went to the screening Thursday night. I invited Nick to it. He wanted to come, but he says Herb Winkler set up a meeting with him with Sherry Lansing. So they went to Sherry's house for dinner. What
Mhm.
about? I don't know. Nick will tell me when I talk to him. Uh, but
Was this at the Directors Guild?
look, she was big at Paramount. You
Yeah,
know,
she ran Paramount, right?
yeah, she ran it. Yeah,
And
the
later,
director. That was at the Directors Guild. Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Because later Sherry Lansing became a regent for the University of California,
Oh yeah,
right up there. Oh, yes.
yeah,
And she was married to the William Friedkin,
yeah. I met William. Oh, I think. Wait, William directed
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Hmm.
Wait, now did he
French
direct
Connection.
French Connection? But how about the Brinks Job?
I'm not sure. It sounds something like up in his
I
line of
think he
work.
did. I met him one time.
Uh-huh.
Just once I met him, and I think it was with Ralph Serpi. Yeah, when they were filming the Brinks Job with
Uh-huh.
which is a great movie. I was in Boston when they were filming it. Uh, I met Peter Falk, John Cassavetes. John wasn't in it, but his wife was in it.
Jenna Rollins.
Yeah, she was in it.
Hmm.
And I met the guys who actually did the Brinks Job. Never admitted to it. And one night we had dinner at Jimmy's in Boston, the lobster place.
Never been there.
It's
Sorry.
not it's not there no longer, but it was
Okay.
one of the best lobster houses
I
around.
bet. Boston,
And
yeah.
we had the guy who was the chief of, he was the chief of police now. All right, he was at the table. Me, Russ Serpy, Frank Russo, uh, the guy who did the ring shot, his name would come to me. Maz Moppy. All
Uh-huh.
right. And Ruff is directly across the table. Maz is sitting next to him. And me and Ruff got into a thing. We started asking him questions. So Ruff would ask him a question. He'd answer, and I'd come back with a question. And we're going like that. All right. And then we had him going. We had him going quickly. And then we said, then why did you do it? And he come up, and he stopped. He literally stopped. Did not. That's the closest I think he ever came to admit that they did it.
Now, you would have been uh, in Boston when Whitey Bulger was still active, right?
Yeah, back in that day he was. I did not know him.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know Eddie Bulger. I didn't know he was living down here down the road in Santa Monica.
Right, with his girlfriend.
Yeah, I can remember we were in prison. You know, we had our own tables, Italians in MDC. And, you know, on the news, he was on the news. And every one of us said he's out of the country. Never dreamed. He had to be out of the country, someplace where he couldn't be extradited. And here he is in Santa Monica.
He was almost your neighbor.
Yeah. Who knows? I might have been in a restaurant with him. I mean, you see in Santa Monica a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
great restaurants there. You
Yeah,
know?
Wilshire
And
Boulevard, Santa Monica
yeah,
Boulevard.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Now, did you ever meet this might be a little bit before your time, but did you ever meet the late, great Mario Puzo,
no, I
who
wish
wrote
I
The
would. Mario.
Godfather?
No, I never met Mario Puzo.
And
No.
since you've done a lot of work in the music business, did you know the legendary so-called Black Godfather, Clarence Avant? He lived in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, he lives in he just died.
He died recently.
Yeah, he died recently. His daughter is married to Ted Sandos from Netflix, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and
She
they,
produced the documentary about her own father for
yeah,
Netflix. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But they had a robbery at the house. The wife
Yeah.
died, right?
The wife was shot with a rifle. She
Yeah,
was murdered. It was a home invasion. At least that was the official
yeah,
report. It might have been a retaliation, but she was killed. This is not that long ago.
no, and he died not long after that.
So is it true to the documentary that his daughter produced that he ran pretty much the black music scene in LA?
Yeah, my friend Danny Sims, who I mentioned, Danny Sims discovered Bob Marley.
Hmm.
Okay, and before Bob, John, Bob actually went to Danny because Danny had Johnny Nash, and
Right.
he blew up Johnny Nash,
Hmm.
and so Bob got a hold of Danny, and that's how that all came about. So Danny owned a lot of Bob Marley publishing, but he was trying to do R&B with Bob, which
Uh,
was the wrong approach.
right.
And Bob didn't really want to do it, but Danny was an R&B guy. And so Danny sent him off to Chris Blackwell at Island Records.
Hmm.
And the rest is history.
Absolutely. Now you are a super salesman that comes through your book. You could sell ice to Eskimo, as they say. So I want to find the story behind your Asian Yellow Pages business in San Francisco. How did you sell ads to people who didn't even speak English, and you're publishing in Chinese, I guess, weren't you?
Chinese in English, Japanese in English.
So
Yeah. If
how
you
did
held
that
the
deal
book
with
up
them?
this way, all right, it'd be in
Huh?
Chinese and English. Turned it around this way, it was Japanese and English.
Was that your
It's a funny story, but I'm the type of guy to take care. I could take somebody else's failure and turn it around into a positive thing,
Hmm.
especially in business. Okay,
Right.
uh, very good in business, and I've done a lot of consulting. But I moved to San Bruno, California. Actually, was the first place from New York. My second wife lived in San Francisco, and so we got an apartment in San Bruno, right outside of San Francisco. And she was working, and I created a company called Centurion. I was partners with my cousin. It was in the automobile after sale business. And then I just sent him a letter, so you want it all, okay? I'm not coming back. And and my cousin's the best, my cousin Bucky. Uh, but anyhow, I said I gotta do something. And I said, let me find something to sell. And I started answering ads in the paper. This was like October, you know? And then nothing happened. I just did my thing. I was flying back and forth to New York. In January, I get a call. I said, you answered an ad? I said, what ad? No, I'm not looking for no job, you know? You called us in October. I said, October, and you're calling me back now? I said, what's your company? Asian Yellow Pages. And, we're located in Fisherman Wharf area of San Francisco. They said, yeah, we're looking for salespeople. I said, yeah, tell me. He told me about it. I said, yeah, I'd be interested. So I made an appointment to go down. And I walk in the office. And there's nobody, there's the receptionist, but there's no receptionist. I hear voices coming from the room over there. And then I see a door go into the back room. And I go to the back room, it's a telephone room. And they had maybe like 12, 15 desks, telephones on them all, nobody working. So I finally go back and knock on the other door. I said, tell me about this. They had all they had was a piece of paper. All right. The Asian Yellow Page, this and that. I said, it's a good concept. How this guy George created the company was there was an article in the San Francisco paper where the Chinese in protest the Yellow Pages because they couldn't read them, piled all the phone books. So that's where the idea. George had a great idea, but they sold some advertising, and then they took that money and they went to South America and spent it all and came back after New Year's. Now they had no money. I knew they had no money. So I listened to their pitch. I said, well, it sounds good. I said, but I'm not interested. I leave. I get home. I get a call from Dave Savin. Oh, David and I, eventually we became very good friends. And he lives in Orange County now, or actually Palm Springs. But he calls me up. He said, he said, George and I were thinking, you're very sharp. Uh, uh, we need a manager. Would you be the sales manager? I said, look, you got nobody there for me to be a sales manager too. I said, you got no money. No, we got money. I said, I'm not interested. Next morning, I get another call from Dave. He said, listen, George really likes you, said you're very sharp. He'd like to meet you, buy you breakfast. Can you meet him at the restaurant again? It was on the Fisherman's Wharf. I said, yeah, I wanted to see what this is about, right? So now I'm sitting at the table. George is across from me in the door. The restaurant's over here. And George is saying, Dave and I really like you. You're a sharp guy, this and that. They said, we'd like, bring you in as a partner. I said, oh, I said, yes, it was a salesman's job, then the sales manager, now you want to make me a partner. I said, how much you looking for? They said 15,000. I said, really? I said, George, let me tell you something. I said, any minute, Davey's going to be coming walking in. I said, you need 15,000 because you're back on your rent. Your phones have been shut off. You guys got no money. I said, and you probably sold advertising and spent the money. He leans back in his chair and he said, well, we did say you were sure. Well, David came in, just like I said he would. Sat down and said, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you guys $5,000. I take over the office, everything. You guys walk. They took the deal. And I took it over. I got the money from a pimp who was from England, who eventually brought a hitman over from England to try to kill me. And obviously that didn't work out too well for him. His name was Frank Grace, yeah. And they put up all the money and paid me to be a sales manager. And then before you know it, I said I didn't want a salary. I worked on percentages and something like that there. And I was making more money than anybody. Okay, I was doing sales gangbusters. I had top people on the telephone. Everybody loved me. And then one day he comes in, wants to fire me. Had a check for $5,000, takes it out and said, no, it's not enough. And he had to go talk to the girls. Come back and said, I'll take 10. So I got $10,000. I picked up a box, called a cab, and went home. And then I had to come to New York. Went back, and he's driving around looking for him and wants me to come back. And anyway, she eventually got him out. I got everybody out. I brought in a partner, a young kid named Jimmy Stein, who was an Austin. I taught him how to sell. And then I left San Francisco, and I sold out to Jimmy.
Mhm.
And but the business became very successful. Nowadays nobody even knows what a telephone book is.
True. Now, let me ask you, as a young man, you got out of upstate New York and went to Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Were you involved in any capers while you were in the military? Sort of like side hustles?
Well, let's put it this way. My pay in the military when I got there was $74.50 a month. I had an apartment in Waikiki. The rent was $150 a month at that time, just a block away from Waikiki Beach. 150 a month for rent. I had to pay all my utilities. Yes, when I walked through the international marketplace in those days, and all the merchants came out, Mr. Oi, how are you? So I was well known at 19 years old. Yeah. So I had a lot of hustles. How do you pay the kind of bill? I was going out every night.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of girls there, man. I had the best time of my life. I got it. It was crazy and loved it. Loved every minute of it.
So you work with a lot of Asians in Hawaii. You work with a lot of Asians in San Francisco. So, as a word of advice to me, how come there's no Asian people at the high levels of criminality like the other ethnic groups?
Oh, you're very wrong there.
Okay. Enlighten me.
Japanese, the
Yeah.
Yakusuka is called. Something
Yakuza.
yeah, Japanese, yeah.
They were big in Hawaii when you were there as a
They're
military.
big all over.
Did you have any
Yeah,
contact with them?
nah.
None.
I had white guys try to come and muscle in on me on things. I had a
Uh-huh.
gun put to my head. The guy was never pulled the trigger. I'm still
Mhm.
here. When I try to take over some cat houses, whorehouses in
Mhm.
Hawaii, yeah, they try to kill me.
We're
But
over on Fort Street.
no, there was in Wy- one house was in Iowa, and
Uh,
the other was over in Diamond Head,
I
the big
see.
house in Diamond Head. Yeah.
Okay. How did you get away with operating in San Francisco, the Asian Yellow Pages? Didn't any of the Godfathers there want
Oh no,
some of
I'll
the
tell you a
action?
story. Besides that, I was doing a lot of other things in San Francisco.
I imagine.
My wife was from there, and
Uh-huh.
she could not understand why, in a short period of time, everybody in San Francisco knew me. Now, San
Right.
Francisco is not that big of a city, as
Right.
people think. It's like 7 miles by 7 miles, something like
Hmm.
that there. You know, so
Yeah.
no matter what restaurant, what bar I went, people knew me, and I had a lot of action. I was doing a lot of things, and one of them is I was beginning, getting big semi trucks, and I was going to put dice games, roulette, craps on, and have a roving gambling thing.
Hmm.
And my place I used to hang out with at was a joint called Old Henry's on Union Street.
Hmm.
And I remember one Saturday night I walk in there, all my guys are waiting for me, and they're all scared shitless. And he said, Ori, guys from North Beach, they want to see you. It's the Italian,
This is Little Italy.
in Little Italy.
Yeah.
I said, all right, no big deal. I said, I'll handle it. And where do I got to go? They give me the name of the restaurant. So I go down to North Beach. Go to the store. As soon as I got to the door, the guy said, you're Rory? I go, yeah, come with me. He takes me into the kitchen. And they had a little table set up. And there were three guys there, older Italian guys. They were tough guys. And we went on and on. They said, we know you're doing a lot of action. We leave you alone, but now you're getting to doing the gambling. You got to do this. You got to do that. And one guy, now I never mentioned who you with, who you with. All right, all that mafia bullshit. Okay, who you with? Okay, I'm myself. I'm with me.
Mhm.
But I had to come. I had to give him a name. And so finally, the guy says, you better give us a name. Who you with in New York? I said, I'm with Sonny Franchise. And I'm going to tell you what, it's like the fucking blue sky opened up. They said, why didn't you tell us? I said, because I don't go around mentioning names. Like I will never mention your names. I don't do that. I don't even want to remember your name in the event that I get picked up for something. Then I could honestly say I don't know anybody. you know, and and it was clear sailing from there, and they were great guys. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've run out of show here, unfortunately. So I would like you to summarize what the prospects are for the gangster life in the early part of the 21st century. Is there any hope for people living a free and sovereign life, even with all this government controls and these draconian laws that are imposed on hardworking people like yourself?
I'm going to tell you something. And I did a show when Donald Trump got elected back in. I said, I feel free. I finally feel free. Honest to God, and I do. Okay? And people don't understand what I'm talking about. But, with the things he's doing, yeah, people, liberals are going to be liberals and cry the blues because they're guilty as shit. Okay? Uh, and, I do want to stay off the politics here. We could do another show because I really enjoy what I'm doing with you today, Professor, and I thank you for
Wonderful.
this. I'm having a great time. I'd like to tell your people, all right, and if you haven't purchased my book, please do, because soon, and very soon, it's being made into a Hollywood movie. The script was written by George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run, Bad Boys, and a slew of others, and he's also directing it. And the production company just put a few $1 million offer to an actor just 2 days ago. Okay, so we're waiting for, he's reading it, this actor's reading the script. And if he takes it, we know his availability is in the fall, and that's when we go into production. So that's the word we're waiting, but it will get made. And it's great. I'm putting together something, especially for women, because the biggest buyers in my book are female. 75% of my book sales are female, and they
Mhm.
love it. And, you know,
Mr. Spado, let me ask you your love for women, and I'm not talking just about the carnal love, but love, affection, and respect for women comes through the book, your autobiography here. What is it about you that makes you love women so deeply, so passionately, and they've helped you through some rough patches?
well,
Could you give us some guidance here? Because there's a war between men and women right now that needs to be healed. There needs to be a truce called.
well, I don't know about this war, and there should not be a war. You know what men fail to realize? Women are much stronger than any of us men. I got no problem. If I got to go in an alley and I got to go up against 10 of the toughest gangsters in the world, yeah, I might get killed, but I'll go in. But if I got to go up against one woman, forget about it. They'll cut you in pieces so fast. All right? You don't know what would happen. In addition, women are much smarter than men. And men don't want to hear that, but they are. Look at what women are doing in business today. Look at the achievement. You mentioned Sherry Lansing. In a man's world, she became the president of Paramount Pictures. So a woman could do it. But then women are being abused left and right. I don't like any man. You're not a man if you abuse a woman. Okay? Should never. Shouldn't be abusing anybody. But when it comes to women and children, okay, you're in a ground where I'll put my freaking boots on and come after you. Okay? And you don't want me putting my boots back on. Okay? But it's just how I am, man. You know, uh, we live in a world today, especially here in Hollywood. It's tough for a man to find a woman to find a man. Everybody wants to text. People don't communicate. People don't know how to talk to each other. Okay? And I go out in a restaurant and I see a guy out on a date with a girl and they're sitting across and they're both looking at their phone. If you got a date, leave your phone at home. Get to know the person. Learn to talk. I would never make a date with somebody say with a text. I'm going to call you up. You're going to hear my voice, and I want to hear yours. And people don't do this. So there's something new I do. I'm on YouTube. I got a story with Ori, but I'm going to be doing something where I'm going to be giving women guidance on dating, how they should dress, you know, a lot of things on woman advice coming from an elderly man that all of his life since the first thought ever probably in his head was female. Okay, I love women. What could I say? Okay,
Yes, it's obvious.
yeah. And I'll tell you how the movie begins.
Okay.
Okay, I am 12 years old. I'm with a couple of my friends in a toy store. It's Christmas time in Rome, New York. I'm doing a little con at the age of 12. A mother comes in with a 9-year old daughter, and the 9-year old little girl wants the Barbie doll. And the mother is telling her they cannot afford it. And this poor little girl is crying. Crying so much that the mother's got to take her out there, walking out to the parking lot towards her car. Ori does the right thing. He steals the Barbie doll, walks out to the parking lot, and he gives it to the little girl. Every little girl should have a Barbie doll for Christmas. Fast forward, Hollywood, California. Ori's on the streets doing his thing, and that little 9-year-old girl comes back. And you got to see how.
That is a movie that me and hundreds of thousands of people are just champing at the bit wanting to see. Best of luck on that one. That movie has to be made.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Daryl, it's
Thank
been
you.
a real pleasure. I could stick with you, all right, all day long. All
Thank
right?
you, Mr. Spado. Thank
All
you for
my
your
love and respect to everybody. Take
all
care.
right.
God
Thank you
bless.
very much.
Bye
Okay,
bye now.
bye. Bye.
I'm going to shut this off.